IVF gets marketed as a sure thing, and it definitely does, and it definitely was not.
If you've reached the point where you've done everything you know how to do, the research, the waiting, the hoping, and you're still thinking, I don't see how this could work, this episode is for you. That's Amy Houston, and she didn't move forward with egg donation and surrogacy because she believed. She moved forward because she learned how to borrow trust when she couldn't hold it herself.
For me, it was just, yeah, I think in this case, borrowing trust and just saying, okay, I'll let go.
If hope feels heavier than helpful right now, if certainty feels impossible, you're not failing this process. You're human.
As important as it was for us, like the biggest, most important thing in our entire life, to have our baby, to have our family, I feel like it was like equally as important for the people who were helping us.
In this conversation, you'll hear how Amy built her family through egg donation and surrogacy, even when nothing felt guaranteed, and how trust, borrowed from the right people, carried her all the way to parenthood. Enjoy. So many intended parents can really relate to just that season of life where you feel like you've done everything you know how to do, the research, the waiting, all of the hoping, and still don't feel confident that their path to parenthood is going to happen. And I
Totally.
know that you've shared that you didn't move forward with egg donation and surrogacy because you even felt sure. Can you kind of take us back to just that moment and what life was like for you then?
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of always knew that we would have a unique path to parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in college, I started having some symptoms of a heart condition that I was later diagnosed with, called pulmonary hypertension. So always knew that pregnancy would not be possible for me. And I think that seed being planted early on was helpful. However, it's still a really big mountain to climb. And so getting there still took some time. We, looked at all different types of avenues for ways to have our family, and ultimately decided that that surrogacy was the right path for us. We really, really wanted to have a big family. At the time, I really wanted a connection to my child genetically. Um, that became less important as we went down the path. But I will say we went through a lot of IVF. It was a struggle for us. I think doctors were really hesitant to work with me because of my heart condition. They just didn't feel comfortable. They questioned whether it was safe, necessary. But eventually we did find an incredible doctor in Houston, at what is now CCRM Houston, to help us on this path. So, yeah, going back, there were so many stops and starts, and we say this a lot, working with intended parents, that IVF gets marketed as a sure thing, and it definitely does, and it definitely was not, for us, because we never had more than one embryo at a time available ever. Wow. My son was actually a fresh transfer, so 10 years ago, not really done very much anymore. But at the time, that was just what the landscape looked like. So it was a lot of finger crossing and wishful hoping and praying, and it's a miracle that he's here. But because of all of that, like I said, we wanted to grow our family. And so after some time, really came around to egg donation. And that is the reason I have two amazing, beautiful, healthy girls in addition to my son. So I think going through that journey to get Eli here was a huge part of it. But having my girls just brings me so much joy. So going back to, I guess, just deciding when we were ready to do egg donation, I don't know, it just kind of all clicked into place that what truly matters is just getting to be a family, getting to be a parent, and knowing that these children are your children. It doesn't really matter what your genetic ties are to them. And I would also say, like, looking back, it felt like the whole world was the process of surrogacy and egg donation and IVF and everything that goes into it. But now I'm just a parent with a
Yeah.
10-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. And all of it, while it's such a huge part of my story, it's also a journey that feels somewhat complete in that now parenthood looks like parenthood.
Sure. It was that
So
chapter. And now
it was
we're
a
on to
chapter.
the class parties and the scraped knees
Everything
and the
else.
bikes and yeah.
Yes. So yeah.
That's amazing. One thing you said, the seed was planted early in college
Yeah.
that, you were not going to be carrying a pregnancy.
Right.
But you said, that was still a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
What was when you realized you were going to have this other mountain of egg donation in addition to, your path to parenthood, what was that process like? I love that you said, genetics were important and then you were like, but they're really not.
They're really not.
Or they weren't as important to you after a while. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I would say, and I think a lot of intended parents probably go through some of this process, is at first, started kind of becoming open to the idea of egg donation, really wanted to have babies. We did look into adoption, did some training, some weekend trainings on adoption, and just kind of came to the conclusion that this path was better for us. And so I would say for egg donation is just, we started out, I wanted to replace myself with myself. I mean, that's it. Sure. It's just that's not really how it works. And I think, the more you get into it, the more you come to understand that doesn't matter either. So I think it's a lot of releasing control, and just getting to a place where you're really just truly open to having the baby you were meant to have, and however that baby arrives for you. Our donor, my girls are just so amazing that I wouldn't change a thing about them. They're perfect in every way. And having my son already be biologically my child, I wasn't sure how I would feel about that. But oh my gosh, it's just so not an issue at all. It is just, they are just my children. My children are my children. So I think as you get into egg donation and you're looking at choosing, because there's choice there. That's what's so interesting about egg donation is you have choice now. You here it is. What's important to you, and really figuring out what is. And what's interesting is my husband Evan originally really, really loved this egg donor, and I liked her. Fine, I liked her, but I was like, but she doesn't look like me. She doesn't have, what I associate with as me. But everything else about her was just, we felt really connected to her. Just the things she liked to do, the type of person she was, everything else about her felt right. So we had to kind of go through some other choices and realize that it didn't really shake out the way we thought it would. Yeah. It's just kind of, again, some stops and starts. Ended up not being good candidates. Some of the other choices that I had made because I wanted to choose, and then came back to this person, this amazing girl that Evan had really connected with from the start, and she is the egg donor that ended up creating our family with us. So there you have it. You just never know. But there's, again, I feel like he knew for a reason, and I had to kind of get there, and that was my learning and path to take, and just a way to grow. So yeah.
Was there a moment, as you were going through all of those stops and starts, where hope kind of felt more exhausting than helpful? You've used the beautiful phrase of borrowed trust. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh. And that's definitely true for surrogacy as well. So we did have an egg donation cycle that resulted in no embryos, which was devastating. And again, that was a cycle with a donor that I chose based on some things that felt important. And when it didn't work out that way, I really had to just regroup and say, okay, maybe we can look at some other factors and choose differently this time,
Mhm.
and just see if that changes things. So for me, it was just, yeah, I think in this case, borrowing trust from the universe, from
Yeah.
Evan, and just saying, okay, I let go. And this feels right, even if it doesn't look right. I think that is
Mm.
something that I kind of came to the conclusion of. And it always, with the donor that ended up being our donor, it always felt right. And I had to get there. So it wouldn't have
Yeah.
been right on day one. It just wouldn't have. It just wasn't the way that I was ready to accept it. But it was, and it was easy and a smooth process. Thankfully, I don't know how, but it was, and we had an amazing outcome and lots of embryos to use. And
Yeah.
now I have two healthy, perfect daughters. So
Mm. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I love that. Maybe it felt right, but maybe not look
Mm-hmm.
right, but it looked
Yeah.
different than what you had originally envisioned. Like you said, with,
Exactly.
oh, she doesn't look like me, or she doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
my blonde hair, or,
Right.
whatever it may be.
Right. My
Yeah.
height, my body style, whatever it was that seemed like what I was replacing, but there is no replacing. And that's what you
Mhm.
come to understand too. It's just not about that. But it
Yeah.
takes time to get there because you just have to be able to let go. And it's a big ask for a lot of people who've already been through so much.
Hmm.
But it's just part of it. And it's a really beautiful part of the process at the end of
Absolutely.
the
Well, you're
day.
not replaced. You're the one that's going to
No,
be there. Yeah, like you're the one that
exactly.
gets to,
Exactly.
pass on all of the family traditions and, just everything that you've envisioned. So yeah, it's
A
not
hundred
replacement.
percent. 100%. So,
We'll get right back to the show. But real quick, if you're dreaming of growing your family through egg donation or surrogacy, we'd love to help. At Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, we've spent 18 years guiding hopeful parents with compassion, expertise, and personal experience. Our team includes people who have been intended parents, surrogates, egg donors, and even nurses. So when we say we understand, we truly do. You can schedule a free 15-minute call with our team at createahappyfamily.com to get your questions answered and explore your next steps. You don't have to navigate this journey alone. We're here to walk it with you. All right, let's get back to the show. What was it like for you as you were shifting from, okay, you knew you were going to have a surrogate. Now we're going to have an
mm-hmm.
egg donor.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel removed from your path to parenthood?
That's a good question. A little bit,
Mm,
only because I had been in on the other side,
yeah.
where it is all about you and what your numbers look like and what your lining looks like and what your ovaries are looking like. And going through all the invasive procedures and, removing cysts as they come up and, going under anesthesia, everything that goes into it. So to go about it in this way, yeah, it felt lighter for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was less a part of it.
Hmm.
But it certainly wasn't as physical, for me. And again, lighter in that things went well. Whereas for me, things
Mm,
never went that well. So yeah, I would say that
yeah.
was that was an interesting difference.
Did you know what to do with all of that positivity? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with, they're
Mm-hmm.
always waiting for the shoe to drop. And
Mm-hmm.
when things just keep either being smooth or you keep getting good news, you almost are like, you don't even know what to do. There's no chaos.
I know. I agree. Yeah. Um, yeah. I felt that way about the embryo creation through the egg donor process and
Mm.
when Misty was finally pregnant with Eli. It was that
Mm.
just really a turning of the season that nothing had gone well and then it did. But in order to get there, just everything that we had been through, all the ups and downs, all the emotions, all the, perceived
Mhm.
failures is what brought us to the point that I could shift, and just
Yeah.
have that mind shift. And it was just acceptance and I don't know. It wasn't surprising to me that it went well. It was like it went well when it was time for it to go well.
Mm.
And I don't think it would have gone that way had I not been through every single event along the way that got me there. So I just felt all like every step had a purpose. It wasn't just pain for the sake of pain. It was growth and just expansion. Um, and so,
Yeah.
yeah.
What was that like to maybe to walk a line to walk alongside a surrogate who never doubted that you guys would become parents? And
Yeah.
even if you couldn't feel the certainty yourself,
Oh,
what was
for
that like?
sure. I was just so grateful because as there is borrowed trust, there's also borrowed enthusiasm and hope. And so it was just she's just so pure in that way that it never crossed her mind that it
Yeah.
wasn't going to work. Whereas, when you've had the experience, the complete opposite, things haven't gone well and you've done all you can do. And I was at that place where I felt like, okay, I've given it my all, put everything into it.
Mm-hmm.
It will be what it will be. So there's a difference between acceptance and assuming all will go well. I think.
Sure.
And it was a little bit of both that made it just a magical, recipe for a great journey. So, but yeah, she was just, yes, always able to support in that way, just with her natural enthusiasm and belief and hope that things would work out the way that they were intended to. And
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
did. So,
with the whole with the journey as a whole, were there ever moments where your path felt so emotionally heavy, along with maybe you were misunderstood, maybe the whole thing was misunderstood by others, and how did you kind of navigate that?
oh, yeah. I mean, it's so different now because when I was going through it, I mean, I didn't know one other soul that had ever needed a surrogate or gone through what we had been through. So it was definitely isolating, and my particular circumstance was pretty unique. So yeah, I would say yeah, we definitely I have friends and family members who wanted to support, but I think they also felt like, oh, I would help you if I could, but I can't. I think they
Mm,
felt some of that as well, like maybe there was expectation there. And there wasn't, but I feel like that sometimes made it hard for people who felt like maybe they could help and offer to carry, but it wasn't right for them,
mhm.
and they didn't know how to support in that situation.
Yeah.
And I mean, but for me, I never felt, I don't know, that didn't get in the way of our friendships or our ability. I mean, they're thrilled for me as friends and they're still all my close friends. But I feel like that was kind of a unique thing that popped up.
Hmm.
That all of a sudden people felt maybe the weight of, oh, I should offer, oh, but I don't know if it's right. And now I don't really know how to support.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Just
That
interesting
is interesting.
dynamics that you don't think about. So that did come up with some family members and with a few
Hmm.
close friends.
Hmm.
But again, that was never would you consider or would you care? We just weren't in that situation. Um,
Sure, sure.
so,
Was
but
there was there ever a, I don't want to say negative, was there
mhm.
ever any conflict with explaining the egg donation aspect to
Mhm.
family or friends, or was that even something that you were going to
Yeah,
explain?
I would say not to friends.
Hmm.
Not really to family. Maybe some extended family were kind of uncertain and people who just hadn't been through the experience or didn't have the education to say,
Yeah.
well, why would you go through all of that when you could just
Mm.
adopt? Because people
Hmm.
don't really understand everything that goes into it. Um, so yeah, that did come up, but I don't know. I never felt bothered by it,
Yeah.
or defensive about it. It was just our path. Our path was our path. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
just amazing that it exists at all. And so I think just having that view about it, it was never anything I felt I had to hide from anyone.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think it was sometimes received, I would say more with like wonder and like, oh, wow, rather than, oh, rather than it
Mm.
being perceived as less than, it was just so surprising. So a lot of education um, for
For
family that
sure.
didn't
I love
understand or
that though.
weren't
I
sure.
love that perspective of this isn't something that to be defensive about. It's people that are
Yeah,
it's like you said, it's wonder. Because
it
not a lot of
is.
people either hear about it or they do hear about it and it's in the media or it's, just that kind of
Yeah,
thing. And yeah, that idea of don't be defensive. They're just wondering.
right. And it's so complex. It's okay, so it's your baby, but it's not your genetics, but it is Evan's and it is this other person's, but she's not really a part of the story after
Uh-huh.
this point, and then it's involving this other person who's carrying but also not related. It's just a lot of complexity that I think a lot of people had just never had a reason to consider
Sure.
until you're affected by it in some way. So
Yeah.
I think Misty, the surrogate that carried Eli, and she's from Waco, so small town in Texas, and she was a dental hygienist, and so she would just tell everybody, that came through and she was pregnant, and they would ask questions, and she was
Sure.
just out there educating the masses, letting people know like what the process looks like. Is this your baby? No. Well, how do you feel about other parents having this baby? Oh, I'm not related to the baby. Just, and she's so good at
Yeah.
that. So,
Well, I love it.
yeah.
And as a dental hygienist, I mean, they can't
Mm.
really talk back. So you can just, talk away and explain the whole
That's
thing.
right. So we would joke about that. So it was great.
One of the things that I think is so amazing is you celebrate so well
Yeah.
how your beautiful family was created. And I know you shared that you created a digital photo book from your
Mm.
surrogates, like all of the pregnancies. And I know
Yeah.
that's become incredibly meaningful. How did
Yeah.
that idea come about for you?
I think just because we had so many photos from each journey,
Yeah.
and things like the first positive pregnancy test at home,
Mm.
cravings, that they would have in pregnancy. It was a way to really feel connected to that part of the process, even if you're not experiencing it directly.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that we took the time to do that and just organize the photos that way. So it was never something we were planning on doing necessarily. We just wanted to have it all available and
Yeah.
documented. And then, lately my girls have been asking to see their baby books. And then I have it
Mm.
available to them and I can tell them their story. And it's just such a neat part of their story, and to be able to show them and they can connect with it and understand how they came to be here.
Mhm.
Um, and that's part of who they are from the get-go. It's been really, really, really neat to see.
Yeah. When you were in the moment and you were in the moment of documenting
Mm.
everything, was that ever hard or was it just more important?
I think it was just more important because
Yeah.
for me, this was not something that I had tried to do and not been able to do. It's not safe for you ever.
Mhm.
So I had not, it wasn't, oh, I can't do this. I wish I could. This other person is doing what I can't physically do. It was just, it felt different for me.
Mm.
But I didn't have the experience of being pregnant and having a loss, which I feel like is just such, oh,
It's a different
that's just
type of loss.
it's a different type of loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was more like, I can't believe that there are people out there that would do this for someone. And
Mm.
that's the other thing that's just so amazing about it is I felt like, as important as it was for us, like this, the biggest, most important thing in our entire life, to have our baby, to have our family, I felt like it was like equally as important for the people who were helping us. I really felt that, like, them to carry for someone else felt to them equally as big. So
Mhm.
it was never this mismatch of importance. It was just this beautiful like balance of how important it is to me and how important it was to them. And it was just undeniable. That's just how it felt.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
thought that
that's
was really neat,
beautiful.
surprising, and just amazing. So,
Yeah. What are, when you're talking to your kiddos about their story,
mhm.
how do you navigate explaining some of those big questions that can come up? Or are they even really big right now?
Yeah, I think they're just asking, well, did I grow in your tummy?
Mhm.
What? And I just say, oh, well, remember, it wasn't my tummy. You grew in Kai's tummy. Remember, I have the picture. That's you in there.
Yeah.
Remember, Mama's tummy just didn't work for having babies. So we found this other person who was able to help us in this way, and she carried you in her tummy for us. So we just kind of presented it in that way. I mean, truth and just exactly what it was. And they're
Mm.
very, that they know it makes them unique and special, and it's just part of who they are. So,
Yeah.
and then in describing egg donation as well, it was just, well, it was really, really difficult to get the parts that we needed to make you. And again, we had this other person who was willing to help us and give us the eggs that we needed so that we could have you. So
Mm.
it was all these people came together to create you. You were that special that
Mhm.
you had help from everyone to come together and make you, beautiful you. So yeah, again, I think
Mm.
having the pictures really helps that
Yeah.
for little ones that are just so visual and want to understand. But yeah, they just hear it as that's just who they are. It's not less than, it's not more than, it just is for them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you say to parents who are maybe just feeling really raw or vulnerable, either,
Yeah.
during pregnancy to either document or celebrate, or even in
Hmm.
those early days trying to figure out how they would navigate those types of conversations? What would you say to them?
I would say just, I mean, full permission to feel all that you feel in those moments
Yeah.
because it's valid and it's true for you. And knowing that it's not a permanent state. So what you feel then may not be what you feel a year from now, or 2 years,
Hmm.
or 4 years, when my daughter's finally starting to ask to her story and how she got here.
Yeah.
And just remembering that as big of a deal, as big of a experience as it is for you, it's also part of them. And so I think just remembering that it's their story too. And
Mm.
so being willing and to sit with that discomfort, even if the times are hard, even if the emotions are hard, I think you'll be happy eventually that you have that to share in what way feels right to you with your family
Hmm.
and with your child, because it's them too. Even if it doesn't look happy all the time, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not meant to. Um,
Yeah.
so
No, I think that's perfect. We're lucky enough you are part of the Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions team now, which
yeah,
is so fun. And
yeah.
you get to be a intended parent educator. How
Mm-hmm.
does having used both the egg donor and surrogate program for your own path to parenthood, how has
Mm-hmm.
that helped you support and educate other intended
Oh,
parents?
just lived experience. And I mean,
Yeah.
and of course, my experience is mine. It isn't necessarily everyone's, but there is some commonality in that. And just understanding, a lot of intended parents that I talk to will say, well, what surprised you as you went through the process? They want to
Hmm.
know, like, what's it like, or what came up for you. And a lot of it is just, I can speak to that loss of, or letting go of, I wouldn't say loss of control, I would say letting go of control, and just
Yeah.
trust and connection with someone else. And that it can be up and down, and
Sure.
emotional and overwhelming, but it can also be amazing. And just having lived through it, just being able to speak to that it's hard but worth it. And
Mm, yeah.
yeah.
For listeners who are still early in the process,
Mhm.
what did you wish you had understood about egg donation or surrogacy before even starting?
Hmm. Oh, I would say just that it isn't a sure thing, that there are no
Yeah.
guarantees. And I think at the beginning stages, you're just you only know what you know, and you're limited in that, okay, well, we'll just have to do it this way. We'll just do IVF and we'll just get a surrogate, or we'll just get a donor. And then it all works perfectly when you take out the part that doesn't work that well, which is, in quotations, which you're perceiving as you. It's my egg quality is not great, or my IVF results were never great, or my uterus doesn't work, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You think that by replacing that quote unquote faulty piece, things will then continue on perfectly. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's surprising, because it's a human experience, and there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be emotion that goes into it. And I think that's surprising, is that you think the doctors will just fix what's wrong, and then it goes according to plan, because it's hard to think of a world where it doesn't go according to plan. And maybe it's just a lot to think about. It's a lot to hold when you don't really when you're taking yourself out of it for one reason, but then you're also taking yourself out of it as like, well, now I don't have any say or control in it. It's, so that I think that would be my recommendation to families, is just to be open to seeing it as a big picture experience, and not just a lot of tunnel vision. Next step. Exactly. Next step, get through this. That didn't work. Okay, circle back. It isn't just something to plow through. And I know that's hard to understand in the moment, but looking back, I'm grateful for everything that we did go through, even when it was hard. So it's just part of it. Yeah. No one gets here on an easy road, and it's not an easy road. I would say that it's not meant to be. Easy doesn't mean good, and bad. Difficult doesn't mean bad. It's just all part of it. So,
having sat in the seat of being a hopeful parent, and then now being a intended parent educator, what do you think sets egg donor and surrogate solutions apart when families are deciding who to trust with this journey?
That's so easy it's so easy to talk about egg donor and surrogate solutions, because it is the focus on relationship, and the focus on on trust and transparency, which are just the most important things when coming into this journey. So I feel like that sets us apart, like far and beyond. It's just the focus on connection, and that you're moving through a life-changing event together. And so, that's
it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Well, Amy, I'm so grateful for you to, just share your story. And I love how you celebrate your family. And I know just so many intended parents are so grateful that they get to hear your voice on the other end of the phone, or Zoom, or, all of the things. My last question to you, and it's a fun one. As you can see, I'm sitting here I won't even tell you what number cup of coffee this is. And so I always love to ask the question, what filled your cup today, literally or figuratively? What has been the thing to fill your cup?
Oh, well, I would say what would fill my cup literally would be a cappuccino. That would be my preference, my favorite. And then what filled my cup figuratively today is that it's the first day after Christmas break, and my kids are back in school, and I feel like I have my workspace and my home to myself for a period of time. And it feels good. It feels good. So, yeah.
No, that does feel good. That does feel really good.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Well, again, Amy, thank you so much for doing this and for all you do. We are so grateful.